Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. There has been a lot of for the work that we've been doing for the past since 2008 until now, collective group work that we've been doing. Um, we know that Melchizedek, the Melchizedek order of neutrality, Lord Melchizedek has stepped down openly to try to teach us the essential mechanic that he had intended to teach in 2010 and 2011. That kind of like had a false start. And now he's teaching it openly. We have to step up because we channel and we at the WISAC in May of this year that we are in a 2-year timeline to collectively begin to ascend as a group body. And that the support, the spiritual support is there, the information is there, and slowly all of that information is being revealed. And of course, the latest part of this is, of course, the dweller on the threshold test, the test that we're going to be all of us are facing right now, which is to face the dweller and to try to figure out whether the undeservedness and the shame that we're feeling and the sense of that we're an imposter, the imposter syndrome, passing the various stages of that test. So as of this morning, I had multiple dreams. In his book, Revelation of a Melchizedek Initiate, which is where Dr. Stone chronicled in 1987 to 1989, him and his group body, about 8 people that he was connected to, were doing similar work that we're doing, and they ascended together. He chronicled all the events that happened with the dates and when certain group elevation and individual elevation happened. Certain people would move the next stage of growth before another one, and a lot of it happened in dreams. And it's important for me to share with you the dreams that I've had recently, as about a week ago. So I had shared with you that I went to see Amak Karunamai, which is this Indian saint who is the incarnation of goddess Sarasvati, which is the goddess of knowledge, music, and the arts. And she gave me a blessing. I've been seeing her 3 years in a row now. And while she was giving me the blessing this time, I remember usually she whispered 1 or 2 words to you, or a sentence or something like that, special blessing from Mama or something to that effect. She didn't whisper anything to me, and it took a long time for her to give me the blessing because she's elevated above you on a platform. You're standing in front of her, and she's touching the top of your head, right? And as she's touching my head, I remember this time I'm thinking to myself, she's taking a long. Okay, what it feels like, there's this warmth that flows through, this incredibly warm feeling that moves through, and I have to brace myself because I feel like my leg are gonna buckle, and I don't want to fool myself and fall down. Okay, and this time around when she was giving me the blessing, this is about 2 months ago. Um, she didn't say anything, to the point that I opened my eyes, because my eyes is usually closed. I opened my eyes to look at her face. Her skin color had changed. She looked a lot more orange. You know how in certain Indian literature and writing, the skin of the god and the goddesses change color depending on what state they're in? Her skin color had changed. And it wasn't herself. It was something big, something really big. It's not the woman that I usually see, that I usually go to for it's something else wasn't there. And I'm prefacing this because I want to explain to you what happened. I had a dream about a week ago that Amak was in my dream, but the way she came in, I was seeing her from behind. and I saw her back and I saw her braid. She has a long, long, long braid, and it went all the way down, almost touching the floor. Long past her, but all the way down to the floor. And she was wearing a red, not a blood red sari, but a red that has a slight tint of black or gray in it. So a muted red, not a violently bright red. And I saw her, and then all of a sudden I was standing in front of her, and she was giving me a blessing, and she was trying to explain something to me. But because when I have these really elevated dreams, this woman is a goddess, she's an incarnation of a goddess, there are details that if I don't repeat them right then after I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning on that day, they begin to evaporate. They begin to dissipate. And so she spoke with me. She was trying to explain something to me. I know she talked to me this time. She was talking to me. And I'm listening to her, and I'm paying attention. And the next thing you know, the dream shifted. The landscape shifted. I am in the bedroom, and it looks like it's my apartment. And my sister Marjorie is there, but it doesn't. She doesn't look in her body like Marjorie. She looked like Marjorie maybe 20 years ago. And then I think there was another man there in the middle. There's a big bed. My mother's in the middle. My sister's on one side, and there's another man there. I think it's my estranged brother. I'm not sure, but because I don't recognize this person. And I woke up from the dream, and I felt very blessed and very happy, very content. And I prayed to Amma a lot on that day, and I continue to pray to her because I've been saying her mantra on a daily basis, and I've been taking the vibhuti ash, putting it in my mouth, and putting the kunkun, the red turmeric, on my forehead as well, to connect back to her energy, because I received all of this when she gave me the blessing. So I've been doing this. Then this morning, very early this morning, again 4 o'clock, I had a dream that it looked like it was Columbia University where I did my master's degree. It was not a small classroom, and there were about 40 to 50 people in the room, and I was helping people sit down, and I was arranging them, and I was going to teach an ascension class in that university. Suddenly, there is a man at the door that comes in and said, "What is happening here? I didn't see you in any schedule. Who are you? What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I am training this group for the ascension test that's going to happen." And he said, "Oh, that's a good thing." And he said to me, "The ascension test that will happen in 2 months." And I said, "Yes." And then the landscape of the dream changed. The man was a dark-skinned man. Then the landscape of the dream changed. I am now in an office, not a big office, a small office, maybe 8 by 10. It's small. It has no chair. It has a chair in it. But when I'm standing in the room, I'm looking at it, I realize I've been dreaming of that same room now for 3 to 4 days. This time around, whereas before it didn't have any furniture in it, and I know it's my office, this time around it has a chair. And I went outside, I opened the door, and I asked somebody on the outside, "Can I get a desk, a bookshelf, a small conference table, and a couple of other chairs around it?" And they begin to deliver the stuff in. It feels like the room was so small that I was trying to inventively figure out a way to fit all of the stuff in, and I woke up from the dream. So it looks like, again, when you're doing this kind of heavy spiritual work and you're moving toward ascension, when you dream that you're teaching or you're in a class, you're receiving a teaching, you're in the inner plane. Because once you desire to ascend and you're doing real work toward that path, the ascended masters will work on you day and night, even in your sleep. The instruction doesn't end when you go to sleep. They're still trying to help you elevate, because it is their purpose and their desire and their intention to help support as many people to ascend as possible. So I have been in other classrooms in my dreams before, where I was being instructed and so on and so forth, but it was never the case that I was instructing others. And I've been in that campus that looked like a university, almost like a mini city. There's a gigantic library. There are multiple things in there. There are areas for you to play. There is even a bazaar, a kind of open market bazaar like you would be in the Middle East or in Turkey or in Saudi Arabia or in Dubai somewhere. And all of that to say to you that I know for a fact that if we keep doing what we're doing, within a matter of 2 months, some of us will begin to hit the first level or the beginning stages of ascension, which would be the 12th level initiation. It is imminent and it's coming. And we should rejoice and be happy because of this. Now, I know that some of you may be triggered because of this to kick up the imposter syndrome in, saying to yourself, my God, I'm not worthy. I'm not ready. I'm too crooked. I have so many things that are incomplete in me. And so as much as you have defects and you have things that are not aligned and not perfect, you also have other things that are in your favor that are going for you. You have to accept the flaws and the defects as part of you still being human. Instead of trying to blame yourself with a whip, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, I'm not good enough, you have to accept the fact, this is where I'm standing, God. I am still broken. I am not perfect, but there are parts of me that are good. I'm still empathetic. I'm still trying to do the best that I can. And this is one of the things that Dr. Stone, when I was having that issue, Dr. Stone said to me, do the best that you can. That's all God is asking of you. Do the best that you can right now. With everything that you know, everything that you're doing, do the best that you can. And I just wanted to share that with you as a kind of general framework for the conversation that we're going to have today. That in the inner plane, there is already a space created for us. And for me, there was a tiny office, maybe overcrowded with furniture. I'm going to have to get rid of the conference table because I don't think it's going to fit, and the chairs. But the desk and some place for me to sit, that will fit. So I'm sharing with you this because we are moving forward as a group body, as Lord Melchizedek had intended in the channeling that we did in WISAC in May, where Lord Melchizedek was saying that his intention, the way he's seeing it, is that we are moving toward ascension by the WISAC of 2027. And there are stages to ascension. It doesn't happen in one fell swoop. Okay? You don't just walk through a door and all of a sudden you're ascended. There are multiple stages to the growth and the evolution process. And as a group body, because I didn't see just myself, the room had about at least 40 people in it. Any questions or any comments? I know that may trigger you into dweller on the threshold issue. As I said, it's do not let that stop you.
No, you could. Okay. Pierre,
Yes.
you people like Celilia and they are in our group, or have they
Interest,
gone ahead?
Interestingly enough, this morning before you got into the call with the council, Natividad told me she was doing a practice of a torsion
Uh-huh.
field. And when she
Uh-huh.
got to the highest torsion field in the 15th dimension, she saw Stellidia dressed in red.
Wow.
And
Okay.
she said she was shaking. She spent the whole rest of the time shaking.
Oh my. Okay.
And
Thank
the way
you.
she said it, I saw Lady Stellidia dressed in red.
Oh my. Okay. Thank you.
Okay? So she's
Yes.
with us. Okay? She's working on the other side.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Do not let your unworthiness stop you. Okay? I'm telling you, that may trigger a whole bunch of stuff. And watch your dreams, because I'm not going to be the only one having dreams. You're going to have dreams as well. Watch your dreams. What I want to continue to talk about in the class today. I want to focus on a few things that I've said and try to clarify some of the points. And I want to focus for the main portion of the discussion about this idea of us being indivisible from God. The first part that I want to share with you, I've mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again. In the beginning, there existed only an infinite desire to give. Nothing was outside of it. This is before there was time and space. I was sharing this with the student, and she kept saying, do you mean by that the Garden of Eden? Before there was the Garden of Eden, before there was even physical universe, before there was anything, there was an endless desire to give that was not self-aware because it didn't have a mirror or a reflection to see itself in. And so that giver created a mirror, an infinite desire to receive, to parallel its depth, its length, and its width. And for a while there, the receiver would desire something, and before the desire was complete, it would be manifested because the giver would give it to it. And the receiver, to close the infinity loop and give back to the giver, all the receiver had to do was to be grateful for the gift received. The only way, if God is the giver, and the only way that God can see itself is when we reflect God back by being grateful. Without gratitude, God cannot see itself. And we become separated and severed from God's grace. Because by us not giving back to God, we become disconnected, and vice versa. So aside from the mechanic that I've explained for the past several months to you on how to transmute the bread of shame by forgiving ourselves for all of brokenness and accepting the broken part of us because we're human and we're flawed, we made mistakes in the past, we were not perfect, then moving into the acceptance of who we are, and then applying from the acceptance now self-love, loving ourselves even though we're incomplete and we're broken, accepting all of the brokenness and all of the small petty stuff that we did in the past, accepting them as part of who we are as a work in progress. That's the transmutation. But connected to this is something else, which is that we need to practice the gratitude. So, because the moment the receiver begin to forget the gratitude, and it's not as an emotion, a higher emotion, a virtue. Gratitude is something that must be endlessly repeated to maintain it. It has to be a frame of mind, a constant frame of mind, to be constantly maintained. Otherwise, it evaporates. In other words, you forget it, and then you forget to mention it. You forget to say thank you for this blessing or that blessing, and because the way the giver gives to us, everything comes from the giver. I reminded you that when I was talking to Georgie about Lady Lakshmi, which is the goddess of abundance, he illuminated my consciousness completely by saying Lakshmi doesn't give just money. This is the mistake that people are making. Lakshmi gives you abundant health, abundant joy, abundant wisdom. Lakshmi gave you abundance in every aspect of your life. And once you are ungrateful or you're restricting yourself and you're disconnected to receiving that endless flow, it will constrict because it's one muscle for Lakshmi. It will constrict and all other flows will stop as well. You will not only not have money, your health will begin to suffer, your joy, your happiness, all kinds of things will begin to constrict. So the idea, and one other thing that he also told me that blew my mind, he's saying that he has a lot of very expensive, very rich feng shui client. He said, if a client comes in and tells me I need you feng shui my apartment because I've been trying to sell it and I can sell it and the apartment is worth, or the house is worth $30 million. He said, what you have to understand, the $30 million does not belong to them. Every abundance that exists in the universe belongs to Lakshmi. And since I am indivisible from God, it belongs to me. He said, when I go to do a feng shui, I am not feng shuiing for him. I'm feng shuiing for me as well. Because that money is also my money. I'm not separated from abundance. I'm never separated from it. To ask Lakshmi to bless you and give you $50, $20, it makes no sense. You are never separated from look at what the resources that exist in the universe, even on planet Earth, all the gold, the diamond, the precious stone, the rubies, the emeralds, all of it belongs to Lakshmi. It doesn't belong to the mining company or to this person, to this billionaire, to this trillionaire. It doesn't belong to any of them. So it's an expansion in awareness that's beyond the scope of what we understand abundance and flow to be. So the giver, who's Lakshmi, was an aspect of that original giver, was giving all of this to the receiver, and the receiver forgot to be grateful. And the gratitude, if he was maintaining it all the time, there would have never been a problem. But it evaporated, and what happened over time as you're receiving and you don't acknowledge and you don't mirror God back by being grateful, you become entitled. You begin to say, I want it in this color and that color. I want. But the other side of the coin of entitlement is you knowing in your core that I have done nothing in return back for the gift that I'm receiving. And because I have done nothing, I am shameful and I'm undeserving of it. I have not done my part. I have not reciprocated. I have not reflected God back. I have not reflected the abundance back. By abundantly glorifying God, by abundantly thanking God for the blessings that I'm receiving. Now, what happened then is that the receiver shame became so big that he said at one point, no more gift. I don't want to receive anything from you. Where it was infinite one moment, it contracted and collapsed into a point of a dot. And that at that moment, there was this gigantic spiritual crisis because the receiver became scared and said to the giver, I'm sorry, restore everything back. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But the giver knew, I can fulfill every wish the receiver has, but I cannot remove the shame. I have to create a way in which the shame can be removed. So it joined back and touched the dot and exploded into a gigantic spiritual detonation, manifested the multiverse in an instant, a snap, nanosecond. The whole multiverse exploded from that point out at speed that's and heat and radiation that's unimaginable. Incredible pressure release instantaneously. With time and space emanating from that point out as a stage or an environment in which the fragments of the receiver can learn to give and receive appropriately from each other to remove the shame and the undeservedness. But for that to happen, the giver had to create a resisting force, a force that was going to test the fragments of the receiver so well and so make everything so difficult that when we pass the test, we will feel the light that I'm now receiving and the ease and the abundance I'm now receiving. I deserve it because I work hard for it. And that, my friend, is Hasatan. So God inflated the universe and brought in it as well that resisting force that was not only the resistance, but also the tough teacher that was going to teach all of us as fragment of the receiver how to remove the shame and the undeservedness. Any question, any comments about this so far? All right. I want to read you, and I've mentioned this part before, but I'm going to read you the beginning sections of the first chapter of Job, in which Job, who was a favorite of God, was a righteous man who walked away from evil and did all kinds of beautiful things. God made a wager or a bet with Hasatan in the heaven. And I want you to understand the religious understanding we have to have with Hasatan is very different than what's even in the Bible. Because in that verse, you will see it. At a meeting in the heaven with all of the angels, Satan was there. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'll just read sections of it. I just want you to understand this, because when I say this, a lot of you are incredulous. You don't believe me. Hold on a second. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. This is the first verse, first chapter of Job. And that man was perfect, upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all men in the East. I won't get into the detail because they're enumerating basically how wealthy and how abundant this man was. I'm going to start now in verse 6. And I want you to understand something in the Bible when you're reading passages that says, because chapter 6 begins, now there was a day when the sons of God came unto present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. When you hear terms like the sons of God translate really into angels. You could substitute the word angel there, it would be accurate. And now there was a day when the angel came unto present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hence comes thou. And then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? Remember here, this is God that brought it up. And there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and eschews evil. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Has not thou made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he had in every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hand, and his substance is increased in the land. In other words, Satan is saying, you've blessed this man, you've given him everything. He's like anointed by you. But put forth thy hand now and touch all that he had, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he had is in thy power, and upon himself put not forth thy hand. In other words, God is saying, do not kill him, but I'm giving him to you, but do not kill him. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when the sons and his daughter were eating. And then now comes all of the chaos that Satan began, because of this conversation and this exchange, that Satan began to do to Job. And Job lost everything, all boils, all kind of disease, all kind of things, his animals, everything. He lost everything. But he never eschewed, he never walked away from God. No, God was right. But the test that Job went through was unbelievable. He lost literally everything. And I'm going back again to the verse 6, when it says, and now there was a day when the sons of God, the angel, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. He's not in a pit of fire. He's not buried in the center of the earth. He came to the throne room of God with the angel to have a conversation with the Lord. And the Lord talked to him like he was a familiar presence in the throne room. I want you to understand what I'm saying about God inserting that resisting force, which we would now call the dweller. I want you to understand the role that the dweller is doing. He's there to test us to see if we would forsake God because we're suffering. Or are we going to continue to have faith and let that faith carry us all the way through, so that even in the darkest moment and the deepest depth of our despair, we will still praise God and say, I have my faith in God, and God will always be with me. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, is the dweller another name for Hasatan?
Yes, the dweller is an aspect of Satan.
An aspect.
It's an aspect of Hasatan. Yes.
And not any of the other
No.
challengers, just
No. This is the term they use for the dweller is also the accuser.
Mhm.
Satan is often referred to as the accuser.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Lucifer is a different story. Lucifer is called the king of the world. And the archons are also different.
Yes.
They are not the same being because a lot of people interchange them and interpose them on top of each other. They are not the same.
Well, it's good to know there's not a fourth challenger amongst all of these guys.
You don't want to know, Janice, I'm not going to say it, okay? There are lots of other prince and principality. There's a whole hierarchy of demons.
Oh,
I'm not going to go into it because it's too scary, okay? There is an inverted tree. There's the tree of life, and there's an inverted tree called the clay path. And there's a whole hierarchy of beings,
oh,
okay? But I won't get into it. It's a whole ball of rocks. And it's
oh.
not going to serve us now to move because they are not. If you don't bother these beings, they're not going to bother you. They have other things that they are worried about.
Mm, mm. And I
But
call on them for which some people do apparently. But yes,
yes,
good to
yes, yes. I know people who are actively calling them. Yes, you're totally right.
Mhm.
You're totally right.
But it sounds like the good guys are the ones, though they challenge us, it is a gift to us in a sense.
Ultimately, because they help elevate our consciousness into a level that was not present before. So I want you to be very aware of this. I wanted to read this because of that passage, because I don't want you to think that Pierre is saying these crazy things and he doesn't have any backup. Here is the backup. He's in the heaven, in the throne room of God with all of the other angels. And God is having a conversation. Where have you been? I've been to and fro. I'm doing all these things inside the earth. And God said, have you seen my servant Job? God brought it up. Some people are saying that God made a bet with the devil, with Satan to test Job. It's not a bet. It's the way Job had to remove his own burden of shame. Now, in the end, because of his faith, he regained and gained way more than he had before. Because at every step of loss that he was having, his wife, all of his children, everybody was telling him, renounce God. Renounce God, because God is certainly not blessing you now. And he refused to do it every step of the way. And that was the tough test. So whatever test that you're having now, remember the story of Job. And remember to keep faith and connect to your God.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments?
Who's in this ascension journey with us? I don't even know everybody anymore. I know Janice, I know this group, but I don't know anybody out. I mean, I know what's her name? The one in Germany they just said.
Natividad.
Yeah, I know her. I don't think the ones that do
They show up at WISAC during the WISAC.
huh?
It's all the people who show up at WISAC.
Oh yeah, they're all doing the work?
Yes, they're doing the work.
Oh, okay.
We have a council class on Sunday morning, and we have also a Melchizedek series that we're doing, and they're all doing the work. So it's about there are 12 people in that other group as well that are doing the deeper work.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And it appears in the dream there are more than 12, because in the dream I had, as I said, about 40. There are people who are silently following me online because I put these videos on YouTube.
Mhm.
They're doing the work, but they are not vocal, they're not verbalizing.
Got it.
You don't realize your reach, but in the dream I saw about 40 people.
Cool.
Now, what I want to talk about to you about for next is the topic, and this came to me in meditation in the past 2 weeks. And again, drip by drip, Lord Melchizedek and God is trying to reveal to me the path we're supposed to follow. And the next upload that came in a sentence. I was in meditation and I heard very clearly the sentence, I am indivisible from God. And this triggered a whole bunch of things for me as it relates to the original giver and the receiver. If God is my progenitor, meaning my ancestor and my father, mother that I came from, and if God is everywhere, God is in me, around me, about me, and is everywhere in me. There is no separation between me and God. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, what happened after you transition and you see first the bright light, and then the next day you see a blue light. If you don't recognize, every step of the way, the Tibetan Book of the Dead text keeps saying you need to remind the person going to the bardo, the transition between incarnation. You need to remind the person as you're reading the text of the bardo for them that they have to recognize that the light that they're seeing, the luminosity that they're experiencing, is actually them. They have to acknowledge, they can't see themselves separated. They have to acknowledge that the luminosity is them. And this is complicated because when we're going to the bardo, we see ourselves, we see the luminosity, but we see ourselves as having what is often referred to as residual self-image. A remnant of our ego still hold our identity as separated from the luminosity we're experiencing. We see goodness. Let me explain in a personal way to you. When I go into the blessed field, okay, and it's a state of complete surrender. When I say gate, paragate long enough, or when I release and let go, or I do enough torsion field, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, by the time I get to the third, when I have long period where I'm doing a spiritual practice, by the time I do the third torsion field, I go into a vastness when I'm completing. A vastness that is so big, all I see all around me is white light. This immense endless space that extends as, and there is no up, there is no down, there is no sense of orientation of any kind. I don't have a body even, but I still know that I exist. There are no thoughts. It's complete stillness and complete rest. Yet, even in that space, I cannot bring myself to completely identify and recognize that this immensity that I'm experiencing is me. Yet, that's what I have to do to become indivisible from God. because the Tibetan Book of the Dead is so clear. Recognition and enlightenment are instantaneous. If you can recognize and acknowledge and accept that the vastness that you're experiencing is you, it's your own body, and you're not separated in any ways from this field of endless rest and benevolence that you're in. In a flash, you're illumined. You are now at the level of the Buddha. You have achieved Buddha state. And in the process of us moving forward in this ascension, growth, and evolution that we're in, we need to be very aware that that idea of indivisibility, that if I keep repeating to myself, I am which is what I'm doing on a daily basis, as I'm contemplating, I'm walking around, I'm driving, I'm taking the train, I keep silently repeating to myself, I am indivisible from God. Which means that I cannot put the piece of paper between me and God, because me and God are one. I'm indivisible. And if I am indivisible, all the blessings that the universe has is mine, because I am the universe. I want you to pay attention of the implication of that statement. If you have any lack in your life of any kind, it's because you're seeing yourself as being separated from the giver. When in fact you're not separated. The separation is an illusion that God created because we as the receiver felt shameful. We are the one that creating the restrictions and creating the resistance by saying, I don't deserve this. We are the one that are creating it. Yet, in fact, all we need to do is to accept that we are indivisible from God. Now, I know in the light community, particularly for young Gen Z and millennial, they have a problem with the word God because of what they may have, abuse they may have experienced at the hands of the clergy, the rabbi, the ministers, the priest, and so on and so forth. So, however you see your higher power, whether it is nature, whether it is energy or source, whether it is the blessed field, whether it is, however you see and you perceive the unmoved mover, the prime mobile, the vast continents, however you see it to be, it is not separated from you. Because separation is an illusion. Master Jesus said it. The Father and I are one. So we are not separated in any ways from our progenitor. We are actually one with him. And because of this, we should be, and I've shared this with you before, like when I'm dealing with clients that have catastrophic illness, the first conversation I have sounds very strange. And it's always the same thing I say to everybody. If you believe that you have this particular disease that's supposedly catastrophic, you're already dead, you're simply not buried. You do not have this disease. What you have is a disconnection to light. All you need to do is to restore the connection and the disease vanish. It retreats, it's not there anymore. I can tell you in my practice, I've seen this over and over again, the people who were able to shift their consciousness into that state, their catastrophic thing vanish. I've seen it happen in 30 days. It just went away, withdrew completely. I've seen other people struggle for it, depending on, again, the resistance that is going to come from Hasatan to keep you from that certainty. There's going to be resistance. Some people take 6 months, and unfortunately, there are people who are unable to do it at all, and they are no longer with us on the planet.
Question, Pierre.
Yes.
I mean, an intellectual concept is clear. We are indivisible. But when it comes to the emotional, the feeling concept, as discussed last week, we have an adjustment to make there, or I do, I certainly.
Yes.
I just repeating the affirmation or the phrase, Mother, Father, God, and I are one. I'm indivisible from God. But then I was thinking about DNA, ancestral, past life interference with that, with anchoring in on an emotional level, on a feeling level, that truth, or a karmic entanglement. Are there possibly other avenues that need to be addressed or cleared beside just, I don't mean just, but beside repeating every day, multiple times in the day, this truth?
Let's not make this complicated. And I'm going to say it again. It is as simple as being emotionally in a state of gratitude for the fact that that you're indivisible from God. So it's not just you repeating that you're indivisible, but it's also, after you repeat it several times, acknowledge that you're in deep and profound gratitude for the gifts that this is going to bring to you.
Yes, of course. And I realize that'll take probably a little time. I don't know how long. I have no idea. But so I just didn't want to just blindly follow that path. If there were other barriers that I need to consider.
The barriers will fall.
Okay.
The barriers are going to dissipate. They will withdraw in the background, because once you restore that connection, it's the primordial error that the receiver made.
Yes.
And if you can go back and repeat this, look, Janice, for the amount of work and the amount of shovel that you have removed from your subconscious mind for all of these years, whatever past life karmic entanglement, you've removed enough. Okay? You're too disciplined to have missed something else. You removed enough. Time to push the easy button.
Yes, yes.
Time to push the easy button. That way you can move forward with your life and with your fulfill your purpose and change dramatically your frame of thinking. And again, I am indivisible for God, and I repeat this multiple times. And as I'm doing this, initially it sounded like I'm saying some sort of nonsense that I don't connect emotionally to. Okay? Because it's so far-fetched for me that I cannot, it doesn't process. The same with the 21-day programs where you repeat affirmation. If you repeat it long enough, and it's going to be more than 21 days, by the way, it's going to go so deep inside of you that when you repeat it, it would shift all kind of energies around you. And then after that, I repeat it long enough, I add, when I feel the shift, I then say deep and profound reverence.
Yes.
If receive from my God over and over again.
That is the emotional element. It seems to me that is the real engine of the affirmation. That is the real driver, isn't it? That it, yes, maybe trickling through just by intellectually reciting an affirmation will have some benefit, but the gratitude and the emotional connection to that must be what really manifests.
Here is a twist. I know plenty of people who are deeply grateful, not praying to God, or saying to God, I'm grateful, but deep in their core, they don't believe they are indivisible from God. The gratitude is not, alone cannot do it. You have to have a kind of like, you have to be intoxicated with your connection with God. You have to know in your core that you are you are merged and nothing can separate that merger. And that comes from deep faith. It's not the gratitude alone. Yes, the gratitude creates a big emotional shift, but aside from that, you have to be intoxicated with the concept and the idea of being one with God, and nothing can change that.
How do you reach that level?
Repeating over and over again that simple affirmation.
Oh, I see.
And over time, it's gonna shift you. When you repeat it, your whole energy system will begin to shift. And you will begin to see the presence of God in everything, the hand of God, because God is the unmoved mover. Everything is being done without God showing its presence. And we begin to not acknowledge that God is in everything. And by us repeating this over and over again, we are not uncovering our own blindness. And we're saying to God, I was blind, I did not see. I did not see that you were the one that was blessing me when this happened or when that happened. As I'm saying this to myself, all kinds of things that happened in my past, that are happening around me now. I'm like, I didn't realize it was you orchestrating this whole thing for me. Thank you. And when I say thank you now, I mean it, because now I'm realizing all of these blessings that are happening around me is because of you. The gratitude alone, I know so many people who are saying all the time, I'm grateful, thank you, God, but they don't believe they're indivisible. They still see themselves as being separated, Quasimodo, deformed, undeserving of being connected in any way to the Creator. And receiving these little crumbs that are falling out of God's table onto them. Not understanding that they have a birthright and a connection that cannot be separated. Does that make any sense, Janice?
It does intellectually, and I recognize that I'm not there.
Yes. Yes, many of us are. I'm there at the moment when I'm repeating it, but at other moment I'm not there.
Mm.
Even when I go into the blessed field now, I still see myself as separated from the field. I'm not completely there.
Yeah. But I thank you for the the tools along the way, because it's very important to me to make that shift.
Yes, 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 yes. According to my dream, we have 2 months to do this.
And that was the other thing I was thinking, I wonder if it's not all right that the dweller seems to be pushing me in another direction of work, spiritual work, than the torsion field recently. I haven't done the torsion field in days, but I'm doing something else that I seem to be drawn to. Am I being negligent, or is that where I'm supposed to be? I know it's a hard question for you to answer. I'm sorry to dump the crystal ball on your lap. Um, I guess the question is, sometimes there are other paths that unfold that we follow.
You need to deal with what's in front of you. And there, even if it's a distraction from the dweller, the only way you're going to pass the dweller test is to follow what's in front of you.
I appreciate that, because I worried that that I was missing the fullness of the practice. But there are only so many hours in the day.
Yes, of course.
Any waking hours anyway, or any viable brain pattern hours. So you have to make choices.
Yes,
You have to do what feels right at the time.
yes. And if you for a moment there for a few days or a week or two, you don't do the torsion field, it's okay. The time will come when you will know, okay, I have to start it again. It just follow what your intuition is telling you.
Mm.
The real teacher is not me. There is an inner intelligence in you that's trying to guide you toward ascension. That's the real teacher. And that's the guidance that you have to follow. It's your own God self, your own higher self that you need to follow. And if you're being given different direction that are slightly that seems to be what not everybody different than what everybody is doing for in the moment, follow it. Because if you're getting if you're facing an issue with the, let's say for example, the beyond time and space, and you're doing it torsion field and beyond time and space, and it seems somehow there is a resistance, there's something that's not working correctly, or you need to step it down and just do the torsion field without the beyond time and space for a moment, do it. It's just like doing vocal exercises. Sometimes you have to go to the simplest part of the exercise before you add another piece to it.
Yes.
Right?
There's a part that's integral at the base that needs to be addressed, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because all of us have different weaknesses and strengths. Only your higher self will say, for you right now, Janice, that's the part you need to focus on.
Mhm. Yeah.
And follow it. And when you go back to the full torsion field again and you do it, you will find, well, I can do it now with so much more ease. Whereas before you were screeching, you were struggling, you were having issue, it was not lining up the right way, it was bending, it was doing all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, it's a question of faith. And I have to tell you the problem, and I'm, okay, so for me, prior to March 2020, when we went in lockdown, my certainty and my connection to my God was extremely solid. But the isolation of lockdown brought me into survival And that survival did something to me, to disconnect me to my God and disconnect me to my faith and my certainty and my intimacy, my indivisibility from my own God. And I need to restore this at this point for me to reconnect back in a stronger way. Even though there's still more distraction, there's still things that are more chaotic now, I'm going to hold on to the fact that I am indivisible from God. A lot of the religious people who are deep devotion, who are intoxicated with the idea of being with God, they or Jesus or whichever Allah, whatever it is that they're praying to, they, in some ways, that they have. And if you can add to it your gratitude for that connection and your recognition that everything that happens in your life is actually because of this connection. And more importantly, and I've shared this with you before, everything that's happened in all the dimensions in the universe, including the 3D and previous universe, future universes, and so on and so forth, they are all a dream. The receiver, the original receiver, never left the bosom of God. It's a dream that we're having, a convincing dream. We never left. This is why separation is an illusion. The dream is so convincing that you and I cannot even imagine what that indivisibility would feel like. And that's what we have to work on to reestablish by repetition, by keeping repeating it. And again, as I'm repeating it, as I walk, as I do my other stuff, and I'm repeating, and there are moments where I feel the connection, it's there. And then when I put the gratitude at the end, deep and profound reverence for the gift received, I can feel the infinity loop closing. I can feel that the figure eight, the closure of this. And it creates, it's very hard to describe. It creates I am indivisible from God, creates a certain shift. And then the gratitude, the deep and profound reverence for the gift received, the gratitude, when the two of them are merged together, it creates something extremely special. Different. That part is very different than that part. And when they're joined together, it does something extraordinary. And I begin to be grateful, not just for the fact that God is giving me everything, but God is using many other people in my life to give to me. And I'm grateful for God using you, using other people in my life, losing this person or that person to bless me with this kindness or that kindness, or, and so on and so forth. Or for my doctor, when I go to get my yearly medical, everything. I'm grateful for all of that. I'm grateful for even for the people who are my test, the people in my life, like my friends that I hang out with on the waterfront. There was an issue that happened. It's a minor issue, but I got slightly irritated for a moment, and I realized she's at a level that she is, and she's not going to change. If you're going to be her friend, you have to accept her the way she is. And there are certain conversations you may not want to have with her because she's going to react in a way that's going to try to agitate you. Be grateful to God for having pointed this about you, because now you know that you're not as tolerant and accepting as you think you are. In other words, my halo is tilted to the side. I'm not as together as I thought I was. Thank you, God, for this lesson. Thank you for pointing this out to me. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. Because the gift is not just you receiving dollar sign and gold coins coming from Lakshmi. This is the mistake that a lot of people are making. They think that it's only when God gives them money that they have to be grateful. And that's the big mistake. When God gives you joy, give you peace, give you happiness, give you intimacy, give you profound friendship, you should be grateful for all of that. I know a lot of people that they keep calling me to tell me they are grateful only when they get money, when opportunity for them to make money comes in. This is not real. This is not what gratitude is about. It's a fragment of it. And in the same process, I end up being also very generous because now, because of all the blessings, and I can feel the figure eight closing inside of me, I can now radiate the true peace and serenity, of course, with permission, the true peace and serenity that I know to someone else. Because now I know I am indivisible and I'm grateful for the indivisibility. Because I took it for granted before and I got separated from it. And again, remember, gratitude has to be maintained. It's a higher emotion. You have to continually maintain it because otherwise it's going to evaporate. It will dissipate. In the passage I had read to you when in John, when the four holy creatures were the four cherubim were around the throne room of God, they were incessantly day and night singing to God, holy, holy, holy. They were blessing God nonstop. And the 24 elders that surround the throne of grace, what did they do after that? They bowed down and prostrated themselves in front of God, and they threw their crown on the floor, and they were as well worshiping God and saying, thank you, over and over again. These are subtle and advanced points. But I guarantee you, if you continue, and again, don't make it complicated. When you're doing something else, you could be doing it at the same time. You're taking a shower. Okay? And you're repeating to yourself silently. I am indivisible from God. Over and over again. And when you're done with the shower and you're toweling yourself, then repeat, thank you, deep and profound reverence for the gift received. Incorporate it in your day as you're doing other things. Before you have your meal, after you're done with the meal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? These are really big, big idea, particularly the idea of indivisibility from God. It's immense, and it's going to take a minute for us to practice this to get to it. All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and in the back end of the break, we'll do our closing meditation. Five minutes. Cass, I'll call you back, okay? It's important. I'll call you back. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you notice. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control.
and I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I am indivisible from God. I am indivisible from infinity times infinity. I am indivisible from source. I am indivisible. From the vast continents. I am indivisible. From my Creator. The Father and I are one. deep and profound reverence for the gifts received. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. I am at rest. I am still. I am unburdened. I am indivisible from God. And a cascade of expansion, growth, evolutionary changes, expansions, emancipates me into this knowing. I am one with my Creator. My God and I have merged into one. Deep and profound reverence for the gifts received. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. deep and profound reverence for the gift received. For I am the light I am the way. I am the path. I am the liberation. I am the benefactor. May the peace, the serenity, the love, and the gratitude that I know pass on to everyone. In my circle of influence. Let there be peace on earth. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was a very different experience without the music. If it was part of your intention, I don't
Oh,
know.
I forgot to put I was playing the music on my end. I forgot to click the button. Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
If you were needing to keep the archive for some reason, you might want to just put some music add some music underneath it.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Oh no, it's okay. It was a different kind of a space. That was just,
Mm,
but thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank you all for listening and for being with me tonight. And thank you. We're doing this. We're getting there. The signs are all out there. The omens are pointing in the right direction. I love you so much. And I'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, everyone.